you gonna dirty busy when you see dirty busy when you see dirty busy. You where they find the pity. Tell Odogu say we like to party. Just call me. You want no dirty busy, you gonna dirty busy when you see dirty busy when you see dirty busy. You where they find the pity. Tell Odogu say we like to party. Just call me. You want no dirty busy, you gonna dirty busy when you see dirty busy when you see dirty busy. You where they find the pity. Tell Odogu say we like to party. Just call me. You want no dirty busy, you gonna dirty busy when you see dirty busy when you see dirty busy.
Welcome to Do Good Work Podcast, hosted by Terrell, Strayhorn, and Jaquin Johnson. We specialize in taking a deep dive into issues that truly matter. Each episode unpacks the challenges and opportunities facing today's leaders, from classrooms to boardrooms, offering insights that inspire real change. By redefining success, we're changing lives, empowering people everywhere to create environments where everyone feels a sense of belonging, whether at home, work, or school. So hey, sit back, relax, grab your favorite beverage, and join us as we explore the issues shaping our futures, one meaningful conversation at a time. Let's go!
Welcome. Good evening to each and every one of you. Thank you for tuning in to Do Good Work Podcast. I'm your co-host, Terrell, joined in the studio by my co-host, Jaquin, and we are so excited to have you join us for today's show. So, as you just heard in the opening, sit back, relax, grab your favorite beverage, and get ready for what promises to be a wonderful show. Happy Sunday to each and every one of you out there, and kick it over to Jaquin, who will get us started while I also start moving some of these links around. But listen, y'all, do us a favor. You know what to do. Help us get the word out that the show is started and people want to tune in. Like and subscribe on YouTube, or grab that link and throw it wherever you want to put it on social media. Throw it in the family group chat, throw it to your coworkers, and let's get ready to talk about it. Jaquin?
Let's talk about it. But first, we have to start with our game. Using the first letter of your last name. Johnson is J. Strayhorn is S, and whatever your last name may be, to describe your day or week. So I'll go first while you have some time to disperse some of those links and get them shared. My week, oh boy, you know how my week went. So I would say for me, jolted. It was unexpected. A lot of things changed over time. Got a phone call, I believe, on Monday that my grandfather was ill, and we had to move quickly to make sure that things were taken care of for the family and for him. So although I walked into the week thinking one thing, a lot of things were going to get done. They did not. So minor setback for a major comeback. What about yourself?
Yeah, well, love and light to you and your family, and all those whose lives were impacted, of course, by your grandfather's life. So you just reminded me, my last name is still Strayhorn, so that's a S. So I'm going to go with, actually, just for the sake of the situation and of the day, I'm going to go with storm. So for anybody who's in I don't know if it's just in the 804 area, but in Virginia, there was a storm today. It was like a rainstorm, but it was very, 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 very heavy. And then pretty soon thereafter, you started getting these messages. When your phone buzzes, like that buzz that everyone gets, is either a child alert, what is that, abduction, or it's a flash flood. And so flash flooding, very quickly they were saying, hey, don't go anywhere unless you have to go. And I think that the way that they tried to do this, they being, whoever's in government, they scrambled our GPSs. Now, listen, if you work in government and you know that's not true, then just go ahead and put it in the chat or something. But I think that's what they did because no one's GPS was working, so you can get from point A to point B. Otherwise, you got to stay at home. And so I was really worried. Called Jaquin to say, I don't know if I'm gonna make it in time for the show, but we got here. So just for the day, I'm gonna go with Storm. All right, for those of you who are tuning in, those of you who are watching from any of our platforms, now it's your turn. Think of your last name, grab that first letter, and then pick a word, a phrase, or something that reflects some aspect of your week, something that you want to share. And if you put it in the chat, we will certainly share it here in the show. But also, you see now at the top of our screen, we have our hotline. And so you can either call us if you want to talk live to us during the show, we will answer it and you can talk live to us, or you can text it and we can read it there as well. Jaquin?
Yeah, so let's get started with want to go with our first topic of conversation.
Oh, well, so I can come back. I'm still, I'm really into these Facebook groups. I don't know if I've talked about it on the show. There are these groups called podcast promotion groups, and thousands of members. And so these folks who host these groups on Facebook, by the way, to everyone who does that, thank you. It is a great resource for podcasters like us. You can go and you can drop your link to your show. And when you do that, people tune in. So all of those podcasters have podcasts and they will promote your show. They'll share it back out on their network. But I mean, you put it across a couple of them and you got thousands of people very quickly who are aware of your show. And so anyway, that's what I was doing. But now I'm back over here. I see the show and I see my mom put successful.
Successful. It's a good word.
It's a good word. Yes. Other folks, feel free to do that. Let me open up this hotline just so we don't miss anything here. What's the weather like over there?
Oh boy, I haven't been outside today. It was sunny earlier when I went out there to grab my suitcase. But it's looking a little cloudy right now. I think it's going to rain all week. Let's look at that. Hopefully not, because I have a pretty significant drive to work every single day. And one thing that drives me crazy is rain, because in Tennessee, we clearly do not know how to drive in the rain or the snow. But it's looking like a pretty good week. We got 94 degrees, about averaging 95, 96 degrees every day except Friday. Then it's going to rain Friday through Monday.
Just putting this in the chat. So I'd looked earlier. It's going to be a beautiful week here as well. Actually, the temperatures here will get much higher, unseasonably warm. I think this is the week. Let me glance. It's supposed to get to 100.
Oh,
yeah,
no.
yeah. You said what?
Oh, no.
Yeah. So 100, 101. These are Texas temps in Virginia. So anyway, while we jump into this, again, it's on the top of the screen, but we're going to also put it at the bottom of the screen for you. If you want to reach out to us, talk live in the show, hit us here in the studio, or you can send us a text. Because the reason why I did this was on the other show, TLS Talks, it's another really engaged audience. And I learned, first of all, I was telling them yesterday on the show, like I've gone places this week and met quite a few people who say, I listen to your podcast. I listen to TLS Talk. I listen to Do Good Work. And I'm like, really? So are you watching live or do you go back and watch the recording? And several of these people who I'm talking about said they watch it live. I was like, why don't y'all ever be saying stuff? And they said, because y'all always put it on the screen. So I was like, oh, everybody don't want their comments put on the screen, I guess. So I was like, oh, okay. So how can you provide yet another opportunity for people to engage and share? And then, like I said, some people have said like they want to talk to us on the show, not be a guest on the show, but like talk to us. And so it's like, how do you do that? So I figured this might work, like almost like a radio dial-in show, and people can text. So what I've committed to in TLS talks that I'll throw out, I'm pretty sure you'll agree. If y'all text us at this number, we will not put it on the screen. We will not type it out. We will not tell what y'all saying. You can just ask us a question and we'll respond to it. If you want to call, if you call this number, because this number is not our real number, it's only for the show. So if you call this number, we are going to answer it. And if we answer it, we're expecting you to talk with us live on the radio, on the show. So if you don't call, unless you want to talk, just text. If you text versus type it in the chat, I guess we won't put it on the screen. All right. But if you don't mind putting your comment on the screen, you like putting your comment on the screen, keep going in the chat across Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and X. Oh, I haven't put the show on X. All right. So I got to do that. What are we talking about this afternoon? Well, you can kick us off. So let's see. This is June. We are now officially into summer. And that's great. So we're about to 2 days from now, we'll be crossing over into July. And July is always that interesting month, I think, too, because I want to hear about your school. At my campus, summer school ends pretty soon. And by July, definitely by mid-July, we're back at school. Because we have our incoming freshmen, our incoming first-year students are part of what we call Ignite. Ignite is more than just a summer bridge program. It's really a summer term that we do just for our incoming first-year students. And so that kicks off in mid-July. So by the time 2 weeks from now, we're already headed full throttle into August. And by the time August comes, sports are back, students are back, residence halls are open, the campus is buzzing, and we get ready for the 2026-2027 academic year. Yeah, that's how our calendar goes. How's yours?
Yeah, I don't know too much about the academic side of things. I'm sure it's probably similar to you all. But I do know, based on my work, we are really more involved in the orientation process. So new students coming in, getting oriented, getting their class schedule, student IDs, meeting people, so they can be ready for the fall. Right now, we're on like session 9 out of 11. Numbers are looking pretty good. So we were asking students after they attend orientation, like, how was their experience? And they're sharing a lot of great feedback. They're telling us that they enjoyed meeting their professors, enjoyed meeting the staff, also the games that they played with other students and getting to know them. Some of them have already met some of their roommates or building relationships with other students in their majors, so forth. So it's all pretty good feedback, which is what we want to hear. There are some things that we can clean up, which we will. Overall, seeing students on campus with their parents, just getting excited about the next year, also excites you.
Do you have orientation throughout the summer?
Yeah,
or is it
so
like one combined?
all of June, and then I think like 2 or 3 in July.
All right. So I can already hear some people telling us, y'all over there talking all this stuff. What is orientation? So everybody's got an orientation, right? You have orientation to work. You might have orientation to, so orientation higher ed style. What is it?
Good question. Orientation higher ed style is pretty much you getting, this is like the last hurrah before you come to school. Like, you have to get everything answered, and we mean everything. So you're looking at your financial aid package. This is your state loans, federal loans, any grants that you may be receiving, scholarships that you may be receiving. This is your aid package. So it's giving you, cost of attendance, and then the breakdown of all the scholarships and aid that you get, and then your remaining balance if you have any. You usually meet with the financial aid office during that time to have those conversations. They're typically individual, one-on-one, for confidentiality reasons. The most exciting part for students, though, is getting your class schedule. You'll meet with an advisor. Typically, we have freshman advisors, and then once you move on to your second, third year, you'll get a specific college or departmental advisor that works specifically with those students. What else do? They play games with their orientation leaders. They, we have a 2-day event, so our students either can stay on campus or at a hotel. And this is a time for them again just to get to know the campus, get all their questions answered before they arrive on campus in the fall to move in.
So the first thing I hear you saying is it's not something quick,
No.
and it's comprehensive.
Comprehensive. It's not Skittles and rainbows. I mean, we have student sessions and parent sessions. I sat in a parent session briefly because I had other things to do or task. But again, they're talking about like just how to support your student. What does that look like? They're giving them the academic calendar so they can have it as well, so they can follow along when exams are, when Christmas break is, how long is Christmas break, all these things. And parents have questions. You have some parents who attended tech, you have some parents who didn't attend tech, you have some parents who didn't attend school at all. So there are all sorts of questions that are, my niece is calling me, all sorts of things that our Student Success Center talks to those parents about.
Now, I know you have a different kind of role in it nowadays, but from your days of doing straight admissions counseling and going to orientation, what's one of the most interesting questions you've ever been asked that you remember?
Yeah, but a lot of good ones. I was share it's the podcast. I wouldn't share it in a public space, but at a university. But a lot of the guys ask, how was the party life or the girls on campus? Of course, you're not going to answer that, but those are some of the wild ones that you get asked.
Yeah.
And you just have to play it smart, but also, entertain it. I think another one would be, a lot of parents have questions about financial aid. That's the biggest topic right now. Is that, cost of attendance. A lot of people don't really plan for paying for college. And then once they kind of get that bill, we kind of have a tight window on preparing them, helping them get connected with financial aid and scholarships, sharing with them about other options outside of the university and how they can pay for school. We talk to them about things they can do on campus, so like work study, being a RA, how that pays for housing and your meals, so forth. But again, like cost is the biggest thing right now that I hear from a lot of parents, talking about, we did not expect to be paying this. What can we do to kind of get this number a little smaller so we can, have our kid go to your institution?
I mean, that's a very practical question for people to ask. College costs. I was just having this conversation with someone the other day. You can appreciate this. A student from a school, I think in New York. I feel like that's wrong. Might have been New Jersey. Anyway, some student wants me to be on his dissertation committee. And so he was asking me if I would serve. And so I was like, of course, yeah, I'd love to. And of course, it's about belonging. And he said, well, the one thing I wanted to use your theoretical framework on belonging I wanted to use your model of belonging as my theoretical framework. He's like, but I was thinking, should I use that or Vince Tinto's model? And I was like, okay.
Was this a phone call? Was this a email exchange? What
It was
kind
a
of
phone call. It was
Okay.
well, it's because it was going to be a video call, but I ended up being in motion, so I just took it as a auto call, and so what is happening right now? And so anyway, this student was like, I was thinking maybe I could do Vince Tinto. I was like, okay. So, we've talked about this on the show quite a bit. And I ultimately said to him, what are you trying to study? And he told me he was looking at, certain kinds of students. And I said, well, if you think about Vince Tinto's model, how do you think that would apply? Like what parts of the model are particularly attractive to you? And anyway, we end up talking about money. And I said, so where in his model does he address finances? And what it revealed was, one, they had not really thought about Vince Tinto's model very deeply. Um, uh, but ultimately, they realize the model doesn't address it, right? And that's a major gap in the model because, hold on, this is person. Hey, Tion, answer this for me. He's called 3 times. Take that. You go in there. Sorry. It's a live show, y'all. So anyway, so finances matter. Got to have money. The model doesn't work. I think this is natural that people will be asking you these questions because money does matter. It costs to go to college. And nowadays it costs a lot to go to college because, my institution, well, one, I'm a private institution. I'm not a private institution. I work at a private institution. And the cost of college is remarkably high. So I try to talk to
Yes.
students about the fact that, like, yes, you should go to class. Yes, you should do well. Yes, you should get grades because you should. But here's why you got to get good grades at my university. It costs too much to repeat things. It costs too much to fail a class, especially if it's a class you've got to have for your major. You can't get this degree in whatever it is, psychology, fine arts, communications, business, without passing through this course, and you keep failing the class. Or you pay for the class, then you don't go to class. Now you fail the class, you got to repeat the class. More and more money.
Yeah, I don't think it's just unique to one institution. I think college does cost, and it is pretty expensive. Do I think it has a great return on investment? Absolutely. Studies have shown that consistently. But at the end of the day, I think it too a lot of it's our job to kind of educate and coach students on the importance of going to class and prioritizing their time and also finding time to hang out with friends and go to games and so forth. But it does cost a lot. I worked at a private institution for 5 years, and now I work at a public institution, and things are drastically different. The things that you can do at a private institution, you cannot do. Don't even think about doing it at a public institution. One thing that I've noticed too is, like, with housing, there's a deposit to it. At my previous institutions, there was no deposit for housing. You just apply, and then you get assigned a room based on you do this questionnaire about yourself and who you are and kind of people you want a room with, how you live, time you wake up, time you eat, all that stuff, so they compare with someone that kind of aligns with your daily life. But at the university I work at now, it's really first come, first serve, right? So the quicker you submit your housing application, you're at the top of the list to get kind of I would say the better dormitories or res halls. Also, in terms of talking about cost, at my other institutions, you didn't pay to go to orientation. At this school, you do. There is a
Wait, you
fee
pay?
to attend. Child, when I tell you, I was shocked that you actually pay to go to orientations.
There's like a fee.
It's a fee.
Mm.
So there's a fee to go to orientation. There's a fee. You only get one guest. A fee for them. If you stay on campus, there's a fee for that too. And at some point, this is good. This is a good conversation. At some point, I was meeting with leadership and supervisors, so forth, about, like, we're doing really good with orientation numbers. People are registering quickly. And at some point, it kind of declined. And they was asking, what are some things that you're hearing from students? Where's the delay, so forth, the bottleneck? And I kind of start to dig into it with our counselors. How can we probe students to kind of get that information? And a lot of them were saying, like, I just don't have I want to go to the school. I don't have the fees to attend orientation, right? So I realized, like, that is another barrier to access to higher education. So if you don't go to orientation, you don't get a class schedule. If you don't do housing application, you don't have anywhere to live, right? So all these things kind of add up to the process of getting into school. And if you don't have the financial funds to pay the cost to move to the next step, you're gonna have some barriers.
So, I mean, obviously there's a reason for this. And I was smiling when you talked about the housing deposit or fee. I want to come back to that maybe, but no, I don't want to get us off track from our other topics. But so the rationale for the orientation fee is some skin in the game. Like they've seen that if students pay, they are more likely to show up, or
We've had these conversations, although have not asked that question directly because I just don't really think it's necessary for what we're really trying to do. But without those conversations, I would say so. One, because we don't have a deposit, right?
oh, y'all don't have a
That may
deposit.
replace it. We don't have
Okay.
we don't require students to submit a deposit. Kind of like that skin in the game, saying like, "Oh, I'm committed," or "I'm coming." So this may be an alternative for that or a replacement. But it also too, you have we're feeding people, so it could be that. It could be
Oh,
you have
okay.
orientation leaders, so maybe that those funds are paying them for their services and their work. You have people who have to come in and clean the dorms before and after. That could be it. I don't know. But I do believe that, for sure, orientation leaders being paid, that it probably comes out of that account.
I got it. All right. So for those of you who are out there tuned in, locked in, we're going to get into our conversation. But if you work at a college university or have a memory of how you do it, feel free to drop it into the chat or let us know. One, did you have an orientation fee? And two, this whole deposit thing, that is, once you're admitted to a school, well, I think that's how it goes. Once you're admitted to a school and you want to enroll, the way the institution sort of reserves your seat in the incoming class is some schools require you to pay a deposit, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And these deposits can be quite sizable or nominal. They could also be nothing. Like in my institution, our institution, it's pretty sizable. It's it's not something you're going to, if you pay that deposit, you're going to
that
end up
school.
coming. Yeah, because you're not going to pay that amount of money. I mean, it's 4 digits, I'm pretty sure, and then be like, oh nah, never mind, I'm not going to come there. I'm going to go to this other school.
But the
So
next question would become: is it refundable?
That's what I was just going to say. Are they on average? Do you know?
I don't know about orientation. Probably. In terms of housing, yes, but you have to do it before May 1st.
Yeah, I think there's a deadline for hours too. I don't think it's not entirely like forever refundable. So at some point you are locking in to the school and you want to do it because otherwise you've lost a significant amount of money, which I understand why institutions need that, because I mean, you are holding a space for a person that could have gone to another person who is very sure they're going to come to school there. So if you know any of those things, deposits, orientation fees, let us know. All right, kick it over. What are we going to talk about?
First thing. So I was in the office probably like a few weeks ago talking to the assistant director and director about orientation, about next steps, about the summer retreat with our counselors, so forth. And a vice president came in pretty much sharing that we have an internal audit that is necessary. They understand that, but it came at the wrong time because there are other things that's happening within that department. And they were talking about how there are students out there. Well, not really. They're not students. These are people. We're calling them in higher ed ghost students, and these are people who are they're enrolling primarily to obtain financial aid or other benefits, often using like stolen or fake identities with no intention to complete any work, right? So they apply, they are admitted, they go through the entire process of admissions and not really orientation, because you could do that online too. And then they're getting aid, federal aid and state aid. So I was searching and looking. There's no like definitive national total right now, but federal investigators have examined more than 350 million ghost students have received aid. And this is, the people who are getting hit the most is California and community colleges. We saw a tremendous spike during COVID because of online learning. And now, people are starting to realize that this money is going to people that are actually not going to school. And I think there was a bill passed. Well, I don't know exactly what it was called. Basically, like no aid to ghost students. That went into effect by October 1. So now, in terms of like the emission side of things, right? There's we've been alerted by it, and we're now looking at. We're of course, we did it in the past, but like our processing team is a lot more intentional. There, instead of just like one eye on it, there are multiple eyes on it on transcripts. Counselors are looking at. We could see when you logged in how quickly how fast you did your application.
Oh, that's the indicator?
Uh-huh. Looking at URLs, how many times are you logging into your account? And then there's like a team, a set task force that if anyone on the team kind of dings, this person or application as suspicious, is sent to that task force, and they'll do a full investigation. In terms of like people who are doing orientation online, when they meet with their advisor, they have to turn on their camera. That's another safety measure. And then I think last but not least that I know of is that we're getting state IDs. People have to take a picture and upload those.
So any one of these or all of these measures are now in place?
All are now
being put in place.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, this is interesting. So a ghost student, which is a very interesting term. We should come back to that. Well, I don't know if we'll come back to it. We have ghost students. We use the term ghost student at my institution, but it refers to like students who kind of like they are real students. They are admitted, they come, they'll sign up for your class, but they won't ever come to class. They're on the roster, but they never attend, right? They just kind of fall off, but that's not like their pattern across the board. These sound like people who came to higher ed for the sole purposes of getting access to financial aid, but never intended to enroll, never intended to earn a credential. So in many ways, they are, I don't know, the word ethics is in there somewhere, right? There's an ethical piece to this, but they're real people. This is not AI. These are not bots, right?
That we don't know. Like some of these could be bots, some of these could be real people. I mean, I think that's like just takes deeper investigation to kind of figure that out.
Wow.
I know AI is being used to complete some of these applications though. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So, and your general impression is, how do you feel about this trend, and in what ways has it complicated the work of those in admissions?
Wow. So I think one thing that we've had conversations about this when we're treating it as a fraud problem for sure.
That's the word I was looking for. Fraud. I'm gonna write that down. That's what I was looking for. They're fraud. That's what they are.
Fraud. Yeah. A fraud problem, and understanding the severity of it. Right. So our legal team has had conversations with us about the severity of fraud. And then also a student success problem too. Right. So we're thinking that these students are on campus. You have instructors who are teaching a course, who are giving out grades, but there is maybe a student in the class that haven't submitted anything, that haven't done a discussion board, that haven't attended class, all these things, right? So it's a student success problem too, right? So we're thinking in our minds like, oh wow, what are we doing with this student? How are we getting in contact with them? Maybe course grades are being skewed because of that. All these sorts of things about student success in general. Forgot what you asked me, but kind of how what we're doing in our work is, in terms of the communication side, is that people who don't respond to us, we would then move over to parents' contact and email. We would do phone calls. If they have a certain school, of course they do, on their application, when our counselors go to those schools for visits, they will ask the high school counselors or someone at the school about the student. Maybe if they cannot get to the school, we will write the counselor about this student just to kind of get an idea, like if this person is real or not. If it's
Right.
not, of course, again, we're going to send that directly over to the task force that deals with that.
So, I mean, hey Kim, she's saying hey to all. So, I mean, is it unethical? Is it legal? No,
Not
is
legal. It's not legal because again, you're stealing someone else's identity and using it as your own, right? That's like me taking your what do you call it, social security card or your ID and using it. I'm acting like you, impersonating you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
but
there
I'm
are
not.
multiple layers of illegal, unethical behavior here.
Mhm.
So ghost students are at all times first taking someone's identity, or is that just one way to get it done?
That's one way of doing it. That's one way. Another way is just like fake synthetic ID, right? Just creating a
Y'all on the
name
roll
and
tonight.
a social media,
Identity theft.
social security number, all those things. So again, oh, that's a good prime example. One of our processors was looking at, I mean, these people are detailed at this point. It's been drilled in them. They were looking at social security numbers. Can we have that information and use it appropriately? But they I think it was like a digit or two off. And then of course it went to other eyes and they have confirmed it, went to scholarships and financial aid, they confirmed it. So there are multiple things that I don't know their process exactly, but I do know that they're looking for looking at transcripts and looking at social security numbers.
That's wild. It's like there's just so much going on in the world that, you know, people will do so much to get what they want, and stealing people's identity. So now you got to worry about your identity being stolen. You got to worry about your, I've told you the situation, I think even on this show, about the phone call I got months ago from essentially a fraudster who had me believing that I needed to go do something, and it involved all of this stuff, and I was supposed to get some money and tell someone and meet someone. So here I am leaving work, going to get money that I'm supposed to go pay someone because of something that was some long-standing debt that I knew nothing about, before it ever dawned on me that, one, I'm not going to do this, and two, as much as they kept saying, I couldn't separate the call, I couldn't end the call, I ended the call. And when I ended the call and the sky didn't fall and the cops didn't show up, I was like, wait, this might be fraud. And then I called the police and told them, and the woman, I know I called you that day and told you that, she was like, she said, so let me guess. You had done something and there was this long-standing debt and you were supposed to go get some money and you're supposed to meet them at this place. I'm like, yes. I said, why, you know about this? She was like, oh, if I told you the number of times people call per day with that same situation. And she kept saying that, one, for anybody who needs to hear this, that's why I'm glad we are talking about it. That's not how this happens. If you have some long-standing, outstanding debt that you must pay to a company, or somehow the law enforcement is involved, you do not have to get out. You don't have to leave your car. You don't have to leave your house. You don't have to leave your job. You don't have to go to the bank. You don't have to drive to the police station and walk in and they're coming to get you. They will find you. They will get their money. It's like, if I listen to it again, it just falls apart, right?
Mhm.
But when you are the one being scammed, when you are the one being targeted, when you are the one being, because was this, you're being terrorized. This is domestic terror. It's become domestic terror when people are trying to, scam you, and they do it to people who know and people who don't know. Anyway, so that's one. So identity theft, and then for them to use this to get access to financial aid. I think you're exactly right, Kim, that's financial aid fraud. That's illegal. That's a federal offense because that's federal dollars. And then you do all of this To what? You're not going to get a degree because you don't want one anyway. You just get a couple of dollars for a few days before they figure you out. And now you're going uptown or downtown, wherever the jail is. And when you get there and they say, well, what did you do? I was a ghost student in college.
Well, the thing is, like, it's not a couple of dollars because but one thing we do know is that these people are using AI and automated bots to apply to multiple institutions, right? So kind of, again, I have not read into this. I have not heard this. This is not verified, but I'm thinking that, when we're thinking about like other fraudulent activities, you kind of have a group of people that work together. So they figuring out like, oh, this school I got into and you should try it too. Like, I think that is kind of what's happening.
Oh, okay.
And then they're all kind of applying to these different institutions. Maybe if you get 20,000 from one school and get 15,000 from another school and 30 from that's a pretty sizable amount of money. Now, I do know that when we talk about this, when I first thought about it, we're thinking about hundreds of millions of dollars, which is like a small fraction of what's really given to students. Like I think is what I read, like 100 billion in annual federal student aid. But this is kind of what we got to think about too, is like, every fraudulent application kind of diverts administrative resources from legitimate students, right? So we're all trying to focus on the students who are actually trying to attend the school rather than spending our attention on students who have no intention of going to school and no intention of getting a degree. Also, fraud can, if they're taking other people's identity, it could leave victims with loans or enrollment records tied to stolen identities, right? So if your identity was stolen and someone applied to another institution, and then this is how higher ed works, right? So, you have a balance at another school, and you try to apply to our institution, we're going to ask you what schools have you went to, right? And you may say none, but our system can detect that you've been to another school. And then we will let you know that, hey, you got to get this transcript from so-and-so place. And they're going to, write back to you, say, I never went to that school. Right. So now they have to figure out how to talk to the other school to get that record clean so they can apply to the school that they want to. Right. It causes chaos. And like kind of what you kind of experience is like just your day is disrupted, so forth.
Well, and then, the other thing that it does, so the question I'd asked was, how does this complicate the work of those in admissions? And I think the other thing that it's doing, and it's really not admissions, I see you 703. That's all I'm gonna say. I'll call your text out, but it complicates the work of all of us in higher ed, right? Because think about, for the academic side, we start to believe we have a certain number of students, right? And as a academic leader and all the seats I've been in as a provost, associate provost, dean, you start making decisions about course coverage, about the assignment of faculty based on these numbers. And to your point, we're not talking about one person, usually you're talking about several people. And in fact, a ring of folks who could be doing this. And so, I think that messes up enrollment, that messes up enrollment management. So your head count, that's all off. Yes, your admissions counselors are working with people who are not really chasing a degree in the first place, just a refund check. It messes up your aid process. Here's the other thing I want, though, all of us who are listening, who are learning about this for the first time, and then certainly those of us who may know people who know people who know people who are doing this, why this must stop is, and you started it actually when you started this segment, I'm thinking about the institutions that will suffer for accreditation purposes, because part of the accreditation is to show that you have, strong and structured and organized systems, processes for managing resources like financial aid. But when you have these situations where, refund checks that are going to people who use fake identities, it raises integrity issues, not integrity on a person, institutional integrity, right? That your systems maybe don't have the right kinds of checks and balances. And what happens is you get audited as an institution. And so then before you know it, just trying to do what's right for students, though you didn't know that this is a ghost student or a set of ghost students, ends up putting the institution in a really bad situation. So all of that is really important to mention. And then the crazy thing is the money that they steal, they have to pay it back to the school or possibly the loan to the loaner, or just go to jail. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is the other piece. So here's 703 says, hey, I work at a community college, and we've been hearing about and dealing with ghost students. Who ends up paying the money? Who ends up really paying the price? So I don't know if you're talking about the money being paid back or if this is a rhetorical question. I'll try a moment and then kick it over to you, Jaquin. I think paying the money back. Okay, so if you are found, I would imagine it's going to be the same process as a person who commits fraud with federal financial aid, period. That is a federal charge because it's federal dollars being mismanaged, mishandled. So there is a crime that is part of this, right? So that's got to be adjudicated and tried and whatever happens. I could see where one of those situations could lead to one having to restitution, pay that money back to the government. But I could also see where, so the individual will be responsible for the finances, and or because the institution may be found liable for not having the right kinds of checks and guards in place to make sure that you were awarding aid to the proper person, the institution may also face some responsibility. What do you think?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think that's probably what prompted our internal audit, because there were probably a couple of cases, too many for them to be comfortable with, and prompted it. But because you took care of that portion, I would say, what was the question? Who really pays the price? I think other students kind of pay the price too, right? Because there are students out there who are on the wait list, and they were not admitted to the school because of a ghost student kind of filled that seat that they would actually never fill because they do not plan to attend, they do not plan to go to class, all that other all the things. So I think people who really do, granted, money is lost, right? That's for the federal government and state to worry about. If the institution has to pay something back, that's way above my pay grade. I'm more focused on other students who have applied to our school, or other schools, and were they were quality candidates, right? They just missed the mark barely because of something in their application, and now they are on the wait list. Not saying that they were completely denied that, but if a space opens up, they will probably be the next one in line to get in. I think those students suffer the most.
Yeah. And, I think that's a good perspective, because unlike what people may believe, which I think a lot of times people think, there's infinite resources out there, there's infinite time, there's infinite options, it's not really harming anyone. Every dollar stolen, really, through fraud from aid bins or aid accounts is a dollar that can't go to a student who actually needs it and who's trying to get the degree to ultimately change their life, right? So, we got into this segment talking about the fact that college costs, and because college costs, there are people who everybody needs support. Some people need financial aid support. And if we're giving it to people who are ghost students, or we're being deceived into giving it to people who are ghost, then I don't know if the opposite of ghost live, I don't know. It doesn't go to the opposite, a non-ghost student, a student who's in need. And so I think if we can frame it that way, you automatically see the injury that it gives to other students, right? And to the institution, and ultimately to the person, because you were saying, it's not a little bit of money, but like to anybody who's doing it. Listen, even if you get thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars, it ain't worth your life. It's not worth your freedom. It's not worth going to jail for. Like, find another way to make money. All right, one more question, and then we'll kick it over to another topic. This is coming from 618. Don't know that area code. Do y'all think technology is making this more accessible? Making this more accessible. And it says, or making fraud easier. AI. Is AI making this easier to do? Technology in its broadest sense.
I'm going to say it plays a role. Easier to do, I don't know. I don't engage in the activity, so I never
So you
had the
don't know the
experience.
ease of it.
No, I'm not going to even no. But on the flip side of that too is like institutions use kind of similar tools as well, right? So if a fraud is using AI or AI bots to do certain things, so too are the institutions, right? Which is why we too can keep up with what's happening. Now, again, we are seeing, and this is no knock to community colleges because they play a valuable role in higher ed. But because they're seeing, more instances in their cases is because they probably don't have just the tools and the resources like other institutions do, right? But again, I do believe federal and state individuals will kind of assist them with that to put something in place to ensure that they are protected. But again, possibly that could be AI and other things, like it could make it easier to do these things again because you're applying to several institutions. Again, I don't know the exact on average how many they're applying to. I don't know if it's 3 or 30 or 300, right? But I do know that it is across the board, across higher education, especially in admissions and financial aid and scholarships, that we are noticing it and actively putting things in place to prevent it.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the best you can do is one, even from a compliance accreditation standpoint, if something like this were to happen, you can't prevent things from happening, especially not with the advent of AI and technology and advancing so fast. There are just people out there who are going to always game the system, who are always going to try to find a way to do something that they shouldn't. All right. But one, if you stay compliant with your own policies, and two, do the best you can to protect against it, so that you can say, listen, here's what we did. We put these safeguards in place. We then did this audit. And from that audit, we learned these things. We took some additional steps. And like you said, we have verifications going on. We're using IDs and all sorts of checks. We're being vigilant in the checking of transcripts. I think that's what you can do, together.
Now hearing this, go ahead, Frame.
Go ahead. Just putting together a set of several strategies. I think that's the best way to do it.
I think another thing too is like, you asked me earlier about like some of the, I guess like the weirdest question I've gotten. Another thing, this is not related to the orientation part, but a lot of students now are asking like, why are there so many steps involved in applying? And this is one of the reasons why, right? Because we have to make sure that you are protected and that we are protected. So I think, and when we create these policies and procedures and so forth, like we do have the student in mind because we don't want them to have to jump through hoop to hoop just to be admitted to the school and then ultimately enroll if they choose to.
Absolutely. All right. Good piece. Good conversation. Okay. Let's take a quick break and we'll come back, do our second part a little bit, and then we'll be out of here. Don't y'all go anywhere. You're looking at Do Good Work. You're tuned in to and looking at Do Good Work podcast with Terrell and Jaquin. We'll be right back after these messages.
What does it truly mean to do good work? It's not just about excellence. It's about making a real difference. Do Good Work podcast explores how impactful work can transform lives and communities. Join us every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central for the Do Good Work podcast. Stream live on Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and X. Be part of a community that values meaningful change. Our mission is to highlight leaders, educators, politicians, and change makers everywhere. We redefine success by showcasing stories of transformation, liberation, and innovation. In each episode, discover how individuals like yourself can and are making a difference. Through inspiring stories, we aim to ignite your passion for change. Learn from those who are not just succeeding, but are also impacting lives positively. Subscribe to our YouTube channel for the latest episodes. Follow us on social media for updates and behind-the-scenes content. Stay connected and be part of our growing community. Engagement is key. Drop comments in the chat. And know your support helps us continue to bring impactful stories to life. Double tap and show some love for the work that truly matters. Missed an episode?
No worries.
Catch up on past episodes for more insights and inspiration. Each story offers a unique perspective on doing good work. Revisit powerful conversations and learn from diverse voices. Every episode is a chance to gain new understanding and motivation. Don't just do something good. By subscribing and engaging with us every Sunday, you'll be part of a movement that values meaningful impact. Call to action, subscribe, watch, and engage with us every Sunday. Let's make a difference together. Do good work.
He said, behold, I will never leave you nor forsake you. And I want you to believe this song. It said, you removed every one of my doubts. You
never left me alone.
Every time you brought me out, Lord, you
never left me alone.
When I was down to my very last, you
never left me alone.
You gave me more than I could ever ask.
You never left me alone.
No, 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 no.
No, 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 never.
I just like this song.
No, 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 never.
No, 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 no.
No, 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 never.
Oh,
no, 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 never.
You never left me.
You never left me alone.
When my heart was overwhelmed, Lord, you never
left me alone.
When I felt like I had failed, Lord, you
never left me alone.
When you didn't know who I could tell, I ran to you.
Never left me alone.
And like always, you made it well, Lord, you
never left me alone.
Help me say never. No, no, no.
Never.
No, no.
No, 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 never.
No, 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 no.
No, 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 never.
No, 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 no.
No, 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 never.
You never left me.
You never left me alone.
I've seen some things. Tell them I've seen the lightning.
I've seen the lightning flashing.
And I heard
the thunder roll.
No, 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 no.
No, 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 never.
No, no, no.
No, 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 never.
Lord have mercy.
No, 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 never.
No, 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 no.
No, no, never.
You never left me.
You never left me alone.
You know friends will come and go, but Lord, you
never left me alone.
You're the place that I can go, cause you
Never left me alone.
You're my peace in sleepless nights, Lord, you never
left me alone.
And because of you, I know I'm gonna be alright, cause you
never left me alone.
Say no, 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 no.
No, 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 never.
Help me say no, no.
No, never.
No, 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 no. Oh, no.
No, 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 never.
You never left me.
You never left me alone.
I felt sin's breaker.
I felt sin's breaker.
Hey fam, want to know how to subscribe to the channel? Well, let's get started. First, open your web browser or the YouTube app on your phone or computer. If on a computer, type www.youtube.com into the browser bar. Step 2, find the channel. In the search bar at the top, type Terrell Strayhorn, or simply visit my channel directly at Terrell Strayhorn Step 3. While watching a video on the channel, click the like button. It tells YouTube this content matters, and it helps others find it too. Step 4, hit subscribe and don't forget to click the bell to turn on notifications. Now you'll be notified every time we go live or post something new. And presto, that's it. That's all. Thanks for being part of the community. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the channel. Continue to do good work.
All right. Thank you for tuning in to Do Good Work Podcast. I did see a comment that came in during the break. Thank you, Dr. Franklin. And thanks for tuning in. And so I should say this. I'm sure she may join the show later. If not, she'll certainly watch later. In fact, you should not join the show tonight, but Miss Wilson, who often is on the show, always in the chat. I mentioned in yesterday's TLS Talk show, so she informed me that she passed her proposal defense, her dissertation proposal defense. And today is her birthday. So from Jaquin and I and the Do Good Work entire enterprise team, happy birthday, Ms. Wilson. Thank you for your tuning into the show, your engagement in the chat. Hopefully you are enjoying yourself. I think she said today she was going to start the day by feeding the unhoused. And then she had some other things she wanted to do with family. But again, love and light to you. Thanks for all that you do, and happy birthday from both of us. All right. So this part of the second topic really comes from a note that I got on LinkedIn. And let me read the note, and then we can discuss a little bit further. And for those who, I was going through some notes this week. I was like, so great. People are just, the fact that people engage, they have questions, they want to talk, is just amazing. And so for everyone who takes time to write, to come to the show, to text, to call, using the new hotline, those of you who are here, we have a hotline now, 713-496-2717. You can text us there. We will not reveal your identity. So if you don't want people to know who you are and what question you're asking, then text us. But if you also call that number during the show, we will answer it and you can talk to us live. So it's like a live radio show. Again, 713-496-2717. And then good evening to you, Dr. Williams. We had Dr. Williams on the show. People are still talking about that show. We got to get you back at some point in time, and giving his shout out to Miss Wilson as well. Thank you. So here's the point, Jaquin. So this is a person who was writing. They said, I've been at my institution for 6 years, cutting across the field on a little bit of lines, but every performance review is positive. Everyone says I'm a great employee. But for the third time, someone else was chosen for the promotion that I wanted. This time, they promoted someone, listen to this, with less experience who I actually trained. My boss keeps telling me, your time is coming. Just be loyal. Your time is coming. That where you make sense where you are. Your time is coming. But I'm starting to think they're just keeping me around because I do their work. Do I stay, or is it time to find an employer who actually values me? All right. There's the scenario. So a couple of questions that I had for us to think about, but for some reason, the word value just struck me, and it didn't in the pre-show. So I do want to talk about value and valued. But this is a situation probably many folks have experienced before. And by the way, if you've experienced and you have ideas, put it in the chat. We'll throw it on the screen or share it, or you can call us on the hotline and talk to us, or you can text us. All right. So, this idea of staying at an institution for 6 years, 6 to me is significant, because for those out there who don't spend every day in higher ed, what you might want to know is for faculty on the academic side, 6 years is usually the time to tenure. And so, in other words, you would start as an assistant professor at most colleges and universities if you're on the tenure track. And you have 6 years before you would go up for tenure, that is, apply for tenure, and then submit your review, your CV, your articles, your presentation, your everything, submit your materials, apply for tenure, and then varying levels of review would either confer tenure or deny tenure. And denying tenure is an employment decision. That at most institutions, if you are denied tenure in that 6-year window, you are also being dismissed from work. You don't work anymore there. But if you are conferred tenure, given tenure, then technically you have employment for life because you are protected by that tenure. And no matter, generally speaking, lest you leave, you could work there. All right. So tenure doesn't happen, isn't offered on the student affairs side, on many others, on any other side than the academic side. But I think the time period is still interesting, that like if we believe it takes 6 years for an academic to be invested or to be vested enough to get tenure, a person who's working in a non-academic space, all spaces are academic, but whatever. If they work for 6 years, you would think that they have demonstrated that they are vested. They are invested in the institution. They are a bona fide part of the community. All right. Then you add to it this idea that your performance reviews are very interesting. We had this conversation just a few weeks ago. So every performance review is positive. Here's what I'm gonna say about that is, higher ed in lots of businesses, industries, hopefully I have this in the workplace belonging book, really need to do something. We got to think about this performance review thing, because performance reviews can be useful and they can be less than useful and probably a whole lot in between, right? So like, I know I have worked at a place before where, one, I didn't get performance reviews, right? So you just go along, you're hoping you're hitting your mark, and you might have, I had check-ins with my supervisor, and of course there were ways to, we had meetings, but there was no annual documented kind of, here's what's expected of you, here's how you're performing, and here's how you measure up, right? But I've also worked at places before where we had performance reviews, but sometimes I felt like the review was totally disconnected from the work. Like, every day I'm managing a budget, I'm supervising people, I am teaching a class, right? But then my performance review would focus on like my, job description kinds of things. Like, how often am I holding meetings? It's not about the quality of those meetings. It's really about the fact whether I'm meeting with my team or not. You know what I'm saying? Or it might be measuring things like, am I filing my reports, and are my reports on time, which is important, but it's not at all giving me feedback on the quality of those reports and whether those reports are useful to the larger reporting system at the institution. So it's almost very rubric-y, like checkboxy. So for me as an employee, yes, I got it, and it's better than no feedback, but it's not really the kind of feedback that would promote growth and development in the employee. So the fact that the person mentions that their performance reviews were positive, begs the question of like, what are these performance reviews about? And then lastly, I'll shut up on this one, you tag you in a few words, comments, is everyone says I'm a great employee. And, I think that's always interesting when people, I was saying this yesterday on the show, smother us, suffocate us with praise, but then there's no alignment between the words of praise, sometimes the evaluation, and then the decision of advancement, promotion, elevation, opportunity. I'll stop there.
Yeah, I agree. I think that we had a conversation maybe a month or two ago about evaluations, and I would say that I've done evaluations at a few of my schools, not all of them. Some of them they did really well. It did align with the work that I was doing. Other times it just was not connected, or there was some disconnect in a few areas. And we had conversations about it openly, about my perspective and then how they viewed it. But in general, in this moment, I think I shared it with you earlier too, at some point, is like I think evaluations are a joke. I'm just going to play it simple. I think they're a joke. I think they're a popularity contest, from the rooms that I've been in and heard about the decisions that they make. I think that, there are, when you're doing them, you may view a lot of people that they are great employees, but when it comes down to it, especially if this is associated or linked to raises, that there's only like so much allotted money to go to individuals. So what they would do is they have conversations about, we can only give this much money in raises. So now based on that, it's like a give and take sort of thing. And then they make decisions based off that. Once I kind of heard that scenario, hands off, because I'm not really in that business when it comes to that. I think that people who really do really good work, and it's just more than showing up to work and doing, what your job description is, to kind of meet, like, what does it have? They below expectations, meet expectations, and exceed expectations, right?
Mhm.
I think a lot of people believe that they exceed expectations because they do their job and do it well, but I think there are other things that they like managing up, leveling up, could get to that exceed expectations portion. But honestly, all in all, based on what I've heard and the conversations that I've had with people, I also too, I think people who are doing the evaluations are not trained to do them. I also don't think they have the time and the capacity to do them well. I think
Yeah.
they kind of like, it gets to the deadline, they got to get through however many they have to get through, and they just type out things, whatever, off the top of their head and go on about their day, and then try to justify it when they get into that meeting, that one-on-one meeting, about what the scores are, and then move forward, right?
Yeah.
Versus going through a training, that way everyone is kind of doing the same thing, and then once they go into those conversations, they're able to have those conversations, those real authentic conversations about how someone was scored. But I'll just end it with, I personally do not value evaluations.
It puts in really interesting. So, I mean, we're obviously not yet saying that, you didn't get the promotion because your evaluation was lousy, right? Meaning the evaluation, though positive, was not a good instrument. That's not what we're saying. But what I am thinking is, because it gets to the heart of what we're saying, when employers create performance review documents or instruments or surveys, I mean, we build surveys, and, it is important that the things that matter are included on the instrument. I think what kind of worries me sometimes is it's hard to know what matters in some work settings, because what's written on paper in a policy or what is talked about is not what ultimately drives the decision, right? And I've consulted companies before where they'll say, we want people who believe in the brand. We really want people who are team members and go-getters, and we want people to be innovative and think outside the box. But when people do that, they're looked at with suspicion. That's never going to work. Why we got to reinvent the wheel? We did it this way last year. And it's interesting because lots of things get repeated just because we did it this way last year, even at places that say that they celebrate innovation and creativity and thinking outside the box and they want fresh energy. But I think sometimes employers can get fresh energy and get fresh ideas and not know how to handle them or manage them at all. Performance reviews to me as just one part of a bigger process should capture and indicate what matters most. So if you believe that you want people to be innovative, there ought to be a question on performance review that speaks about people's innovation and their extent of innovation. If you want people who are good team members, there should be a part of the performance review that gives people feedback about their ability to work on teams effectively. That if you say that you're really looking for people who can deliver results, there should be something on the performance review that is really about driving results and change, not just when did you get here, what time did you get here, are you timely upon arrival, those kind of things.
Mhm.
All right. So back to the scenario at hand, though. So performance reviews are good. Everyone says I'm a great employee, but you get passed over for promotion. And you have a boss that says, your time is coming. Just wait, be patient, stay the course, steady the ship. And you're saying, this is the third time. And you're starting to think that they're keeping you around because you do their work. Someone told me yesterday, I was talking to someone yesterday and they said, my boss has me doing their work. I want to think about that. Do I stay or is it time for me to find someone who actually values me? All right. This whole notion of doing other people's work, what are your thoughts about it? And is it possible on a team?
Good question. Doing other people work. Honestly, I'm a person that 9 times out of 10 I'm going to do it. Probably 9.5 times out of 10 I'm going to do it. Simply because I believe I'm a team player and I want to make sure that if you don't have the capacity to do it and I can do it, or if I can delegate it to somebody else and assist, I will do that. But if I've shown you how to do it, uh, more than once and you are still coming to me to do whatever it may be, um something I've learned from a friend of mine is basically saying like, hey, I wrote a step-by-step document for you, which I would do, or I can sit with you and go over with you again, to help you. But at some point, if I feel like if my plate is already full and I can't and you have a timeline that is, you need it immediately, which is most of the time that's how it happens. I'm not really good at it right now, but at some point the answer just has to be no, because I have work to do as well. People expect me to get it done. I have a timeline, deadline, so forth, and doing your work will interrupt that. So yeah, like if there's a way I can help you anyway, it may not be doing it for you, but there's other ways I can help you. I'll do my best.
Yeah. I was just thinking, one of my friends said, where do you live in Virginia? Every time you're on the podcast, I hear sirens. You must live in a dangerous neighborhood. So for anyone out there judging, I live near downtown. So I guess you could just hear everything. Actually, you know what? I also live near a hospital. So maybe that's why you hear a lot of sirens, but it's not because I'm in the middle of some dangerous zone. But thank you for caring about my well-being. So I think that it is interesting. Am I a person? Yeah, I'm a person who I definitely see myself as a team player. I don't know. I wonder. So let me ask you. Like you said, yes, you can to your team. So does it mean that if I am not willing to do your work, that the person is not a team player?
No, it's not your work.
That's what I was thinking. Like even on teams, because it's like I've been on teams, you've been on teams, we're athletes, right? Everybody on the team has a role. And like, yes, we're a team, but you don't need the linebacker to do what the quarterback should be doing, and vice versa. In fact, you don't want that to happen because one, I don't know why they would, but if they did, then who's doing that person's job? So at some point, the whole team crumbles, compromises, it fails because you got people over here doing what people over here should be doing. So I'm saying that because I know sometimes I think a lot about how we being the world constructs these terms that seem so objective, like I'm a team player, right? But someone who says, but I'm not doing your job for you, don't dismiss them, employers saying they're not team players. They could very well be team players, but have full respect for everyone having their own job to do and their role to do, and just holding people accountable for it, right? So you could, what is it? Two things can be true at one time, and that is that a person can be a team player, but also expect their teammates to step up and do what's necessary. Now, does that mean that if you cannot do it because you have suffered an injury, you're out of the office, you've got a lot going on, and you ask me to step in and pitch for you? Absolutely. Definitely that person, right? But I do think this idea of being a team player, we need to continue to unpack some for people. And once we unpack it the way we just did, if I'm doing my work and you're doing your work and they're doing their work, the team comes together in formation and we can accomplish our goals. Now, the second piece of this, though, is, and I struggle, especially as a supervisor. Okay, so let me pause there because I don't want to go there just yet. But okay, so when you do your work and I do my work and you tell me, hey, look, I got to go handle this. Can you help me with this? Okay, so I step in, I handle it. Do you give me credit for helping, or is because I stepped in to do your work, is it your work at that time?
Hold on now. That's a good question because I'm all about one thing about us, and this is something that you have instilled in me and others, is like we use we and us all the time. Even if like I know for a fact that I have done the entire project myself, when I present, I'm still saying we and us did it, right? But in terms of credit, always give credit where credit is due, right? So if at some point in the project I'm leading, I'm talking through it with leadership or whoever I'm talking to about it, I will, move through the PowerPoint of the project. And let's say that, someone collected some enrollment data for me. I'm going to shout that person out by name, right? Because they deserve it. They did that portion of the work. And I'm going to celebrate them and make sure everyone knows that they did that part and then move through the rest of my presentation. Simply because, again, like if I put myself in their shoes and I did even a fraction or 10%, 5%, 1% of the project, I would like to, be mentioned that I did something, I contributed to the team. So I make sure that I am very vigilant of that when I'm speaking.
Yeah, I'm the same. I think that one, and I do this a ton, especially in my job, if I do something, good, you do something, great. If you tell me, hey, I can't do this, can you handle it? No, I'm sorry. If I say I can't do this right now because I'm focused on this, could you handle this for us? Or could you create this? Or could you make one for me? Or could you put my school on it or put my name on it? Whatever. And people do it. Then I'm the first one to be like, hey, got it done. I just want to pause and publicly thank Jaquin for da 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 da. I want to publicly thank. We just had this week where we were all working on a lot of stuff. And then we got a request to create these flyers for our enrollment drive. And one of the deans very quickly got someone on their team to do it. And I didn't have the bandwidth. The other deans didn't have the bandwidth. I had an idea. I said, hey, look, what if we just take yours and duplicate it for all the schools, right? And if you can get yours done and send it to me, I can duplicate it in 2 seconds. And so he did. He sent me his and I duplicated it for all the schools. But when I sent it out there, I said, hey, look, I want to thank this person for jump starting it and the people on his team for doing this because it's so important. Now, here's the other piece of it, though. one, do you in times where you in the past, do you expect the same of your supervisor?
Screaming. You be asking questions because you know too much of my business.
I'm just trying to get to the point of the start of the question, but that's why I went back in the past. I said way back when you worked at some unnamed school that's, whatever.
Do I expect it? And of course, I expect. Do I expect? What does that word mean? I would hope that they would mention me as part of whatever we did. In that moment, it has happened to me where they don't, but they be celebrating everybody else. I'd be like, oh, okay. I see what we're doing now. And Boo Boo the Fool over here was still, the next time they ask me, I'll do it. Right. Even though I tell myself in that moment, I'm never doing that again. Yes, it's hurtful. It's disappointing. I work through those emotions and talk to myself and others about it, but I move on. Right. At the end of the day, one thing I do know is work that I do. And I do know certain things that I do for teams in the past that the work that I was doing for them with that's probably patting myself on the back too much. I played a valuable role, right, in getting that project.
You just said it. Valuable. If we were in person, I'd give you a hug. That's it. It's like, I just wanted to go down the conversation because that's what we had to get to. People want to be valued. Because I feel like even today, I was in a situation where people were like, I love this person and I care for this person, but, and I don't want them to think I'm judging them, but, and I was just like, where do we get to the point where we can't just cut across the field, as we would say, and be direct about something? Like, people go to work because they want to make a contribution. That's it. There's no magic to it. There's nothing more to it. Why do people work at the place where you currently work? Because they believe that their skills can be put in use to something that this organization is committed to doing, right? Mm-hmm. You got admissions counselors who believe, you know what, I can help admit some folk. You got some faculty who said, you know what, I can help teach some folk. You got some IT people who said, I can help some technology work with these folk. You have lawn keeper, whatever they're called, groundskeepers, who say, well, but y'all, for you to be together on this campus, your grounds got to look good, and I got some skills that can help you with that. Everybody feels like they contribute, and their contribution is valuable. Mm-hmm. Whether it's picking up the phone, you and I both know this. We've been places where, listen, it is not getting on the stage and speaking that is always the hero or the shero. It's the person who had to answer the email, to execute the contract, to buy the flights, and put us in the same section, seat by seat, get us to, when we land, we know exactly where to go so we can get to the Uber, and the Uber can get us to the hotel. And when we get to the hotel, they don't say, why are y'all here? They say, oh, we have your room waiting for you. We were expecting you. We can go upstairs. When we go downstairs again, there's a reservation at a dinner spot. That takes work. That doesn't happen automatically. And I don't know if AI can do it. Maybe it can. If you know how to help us, look, call us hotline, do something. But otherwise, you need a human, right, who is usually an administrative assistant or an executive assistant, or they partner with technology. And it's not just one, it's not just on our side. They got to connect with the partner campus, and a whole lot of logistics come into place. And guess what? Their work and their contributions are valuable, because we would never be able to speak if we had been exhausted because we couldn't lay our head down the night before, or if we hadn't eaten because there was no space to go do that. All right. Why am I saying that? Because our colleague, almost said the name, thank you, Jesus, says, time to find an employee who actually values me. And what I want to say to all the employers and all of the supervisors and all the managers and team leaders out there, from one of our own to another, is this: when we don't do the things we're talking about right now, right? We don't align the performance reviews in ways that are meaningful. We don't celebrate the contributions of our people, no matter where they are in the organizational chart. We don't demonstrate that we see people. For example, if you see someone coming into the workplace, and workplace doesn't have to be physical, it could be virtual, but and we've worked with clients who have most of their team remote, and what happened? We were able to even come into virtual rooms and look at the screen and say, we would text each other and be like, uh-oh, Bob is not doing well today. You can look at it, you can see it. But if you're a manager, team leader, supervisor, CEO, COO, and you're watching people fail or not fail, you're watching people burdened by life. You're watching people wallow under the weight of personal situations you might not know anything about, or they're dealing with team conflict, and you can tell they're bumping heads. They don't even talk to each other anymore. And you're not doing anything to intervene. You are not only compromising your own success, but you're not helping people feel what they need to feel at work. They don't feel valued. But when you intervene, hey, Bob, you mind staying on a couple minutes after the end of the movie? What is this thing called? Meeting. And then everybody goes, or maybe you got to start a new room. Talk to Bob and say, Bob, hey, I'm just checking in on you. Bob feels valued. Bob feels seen. Bob feels heard. When you listen, give a person a performance evaluation that's not glowing and say, listen, but I want to sit down and talk to you about it because I believe you can be better. Here's the kind of feedback I'm giving. Then pause. How do you feel about this? What do you have for me to, what can we talk about? The person feels valued, like their ideas and their contributions and their words and their feelings matter. Everybody wants to belong. Everybody wants to feel significant. Everybody wants to feel cared about. Everybody wants to know that you value them. And value them is not only in salary, although obviously we should be paying people what they're worth, or at least what they're due. If we can't get to worth, what they're due. But beyond that, it's when people get overlooked because they did something, you don't shout them out, or they apply for a promotion and they don't get it. I don't know why HR has never done this, but like, I almost feel like nowadays feedback sessions are essential. So if for the people who apply and they don't get the promotion, when do we say to them, hey, look, I know you applied for that promotion, you didn't get it. We went with another candidate, but here are 2 or 3 things that stood out, right? And here's some ways that we want to further invest in your development to help you get to your next, because your next may not be here. You may not ever be promoted at your current institution, but if you're seeking promotion, you can probably get promoted somewhere, right? So how does the institution really do that for you? I don't know.
Mhm.
Your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that, we've had someone, we were had an opening, and there were 2 internal candidates, and then there were a couple external candidates that applied, interviewed about 7 people. One of the candidates who were internal, kind of people, a lot of people were saying, oh, they should get it, right? Before the interview even started. And then once the interviews went through, the person that everyone thought should get it was just not prepared, right? Knew that they could do the job, but in terms of the interview, was not prepared. And then after the fact, we had a conversation with them, like, hey, here are 3 things based on what we saw in the interview, things that you can work on. If you do these things, I know the next time there's a opening that you want, you more than likely will get it. But let's just focus on those things. You'll be good for the next promotion or opening. I think those conversations they value the conversation. So did I and the rest of us, because it just allowed us an opportunity to just talk about it. Right? There's an elephant in the room. They're upset about that they didn't get the promotion. And I think they also too that they deserve the conversation. Right?
Yeah.
And that's what we gave them. Try to be as open as possible and transparent with them. Answer any questions that they have for us. And I think it also helped our relationship with that individual moving forward. So now, when I first started with them, just kind of I forgot what the correct term is, but it's like just casual conversations. But now it's just like, hey, how can I be better? What are some things that you're noticing? Can you proof this? So forth. So we're constantly coaching and teaching. Because again, like, we know that you're not going to be an admissions counselor for the rest of your life. take
least
that as
we
you
hope.
will. Right. And if you are, that's okay. But my goal, I always want to see people move forward and move up. So if I can play a role in that, I'm more than willing to do it. So I think that conversation was definitely warranted, and meaningful for all parties involved.
So 313, I'm assuming you're talking about right now, says, is it ever okay just to ask for that kind of feedback?
100%. I think you should. I think it's something that you are processing and you have questions lingering that are unanswered. I do believe you can go to the individual or whoever was, what they call them people, hiring committee, and ask those questions, right? Even if you are not already a part of the institution, right? Write the people and ask them, like, hey, I really appreciated the
Absolutely.
opportunity to interview. Here are some things that I really enjoyed about the interview and about your
Yep.
or company, whatever it may be. But I would like to know, like, what are some areas that you notice that I can improve on, and see what they respond, and take that information, and move forward with it. Right. I do believe that you should, if you have questions that you want answered, ask the question
Because all they can ever say is no. I mean, if not, right? Like,
or
be like,
not
hey, we're not
respond.
giving feedback. We say,
Yeah, or not respond.
this is true, especially in higher ed, might not respond. But yeah, if you have those questions, whether you are applying to be hired or you're already at the institution, you applied for a promotion, at any point in time, reaching out to, like you said, the supervisor, the manager, the hiring committee, or HR and TM, human resources, talent management, and say, look, hey, I applied for this, or I'm interested. I would love to, if you have any feedback for me. And again, they may not respond, or if they do respond, they may say, hey, we're not giving out feedback. Because sometimes institutions try to protect themselves from, I had to probably listen a little bit more and think a bit more to always articulate that point. But I have known institutions say, like, we don't want to give feedback because they feel like it's kind of like saying, hey, look, you didn't get the promotion this time, but here's some feedback. You might interpret that as saying, if I do these things, then the next time I will get the promotion. And then what happens when you don't get it? Will you sue us and say, hey, so I think they try to stay out of that business sometimes. But anyone out there who knows about this issue, drop us a note, jump in a DM, or send us a text or a call. We could love to have you on the show, especially if you work in HR or in legal affairs. Have you on the show to talk to us about this. But until we get that, yes, ask for it. If you need it, go for it. Tell them I want the feedback. See if they'll give you some. So the question was, how long is too long to wait for this promotion? 6 years is not short, and 3 times is not few. So the reason why I wanted to on ramp into value is I really don't think you have a promotion job problem in this situation, nor do I think you have a patience problem, another P word. I think what you have is a value problem. The problem is things have happened in this workplace that have caused you to feel unvalued and unvaluable. And unfortunately, when we as humans start to feel unvalued, unseen, unheard, we depart, we resign, we leave. So, and sometimes our mind goes there first. So we resign psychologically from the job. I'm not going to stay extra. I'm not putting any extra work. I'm not going above and beyond. I will occupy this seat sometimes until I have another next. But there's Miss Wilson. Everyone said happy birthday to you. Thanks for coming in. Happy birthday again. Say happy birthday, Jaquan.
Happy birthday.
We would sing it for you, but we're not. Okay. So hopefully you're enjoying your day. So yeah, I think there's a value problem, right? Where when people feel unvalued or less valued, then you leave psychologically, and then your body catches up and you start to follow that way. She said, y'all cutting up. Yes, we are. And so I think that's the real problem here. So the question becomes, how long do you wait to be valued? And I I can't imagine that 6 years isn't long enough, right? So you didn't ask this, but I'm going to offer it. I think if you wanted to stay, there's a conversation that needs to be had. And maybe it's between you and your supervisor first, but it is also, and it's not something you have to do if you don't want to do it, but if you wanted to do it, I think a conversation about how you're feeling is a feeling conversation. I think because sometimes people don't put it together. You know, I have certainly worked in places where I start to feel a certain way. And when I decide to have that conversation with someone, whether it's my supervisor or my supervisor or coworker, and I start laying it out like, you know what, this was said, and then this happened. And then this opportunity came and I did this, and then this happened. And then today this. And they're like, whoa, I did. You know what? You're exactly right. I just didn't put the pieces all together. I didn't realize that, you know, you've been made to feel like you're being overlooked 6 times, 5 times. I didn't know that you have stepped in when there's been transition 4 times. I didn't know that you know what I'm saying? So no one's putting the story together the same way you are putting it together for yourself. And I think having a conversation with people to say like, listen, I don't know if you know this, but when this happened, it made me feel less than. And when this happened, this made me feel less than. And then today, this is also put it all together. I'm feeling really undervalued, right? And on top of that, I don't know if it's a salary issue or whatever, but I think that conversation, because what it can then be for a supervisor, if you came to me as your supervisor and said that to me, then I know if I'm trying to keep you, I've got to boost your value. I've got to do some things to affirm your value. You've already put me, my mom always says, put the ball in their court, right? So don't keep the ball on your side. Hit that ball, lobby it, do whatever. Just keep the ball on the other person's side. So you've put that ball back on me because you've given me the things I need to know. Here's a good worker, like you said, someone who goes above and beyond and they do not feel value. So it's up to me as the supervisor to now create the conditions for you to feel value. I don't know if I'm gonna give you some more money. I don't know if I'm gonna give you some time off. I don't know if I'm gonna shout you out at the next meeting or do a post on LinkedIn, or maybe as Jaquin was saying earlier, it's a constellation of all of these things I'm going to do to make sure that you feel that way. I think it's a value problem.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's definitely a value problem and have those conversations. And second too, like just, you know, I don't know the full story or picture based on just the information that we have, but you know, think about your situation and circumstances, and if you can make a move, right? Maybe right now you start planning your departure, you start applying to other places. I'm not saying that you should leave your institution or wherever you work. But I am saying that if you, at some point, if you believe that it is time for you to move on because of how it's impacting you mentally, physically, so forth, then start applying to other places and for jobs that you want, and see what happens. But also too, like, I think it's important to have that conversation with your current employer as well.
God, all these numbers are popping up. Y'all doing like that night. The numbers are going up as we get deeper into the show. All right, last question. And then I will get ready to close us out and make sure we do our closing video and also checking with you about the song. And then we'll be out of here. So this is 202. That's DC. All right. Do you guys think you should tell your boss when if you're looking elsewhere?
No.
You ain't gonna let me finish the question?
Oh, my bad. Go ahead.
Go ahead. That's it. So the answer is no?
No, why would you? I mean, no. I think people retaliate. I think people will try to make your job harder. I think people talk and stir the pot and share false narratives. So no, I think some people would try to get rid of you before you depart or leave. So no, I wouldn't. Absolutely not. I wouldn't share that I'm looking elsewhere until I know for certain that I got a job offer, and then I'll have that conversation.
All right, what y'all think? Y'all put y'all's comments in the chat. We got a couple things coming into the hotline. I'm still thinking, but while I'm thinking, then my other follow-up, because I've seen both of these. I've seen all 3 of these actually. So would you put open to work on your LinkedIn? That little open to work band around your picture?
That's a you question because I don't really use social media like that, honestly. Rarely use LinkedIn.
Really?
Mhm. Look at my LinkedIn. I ain't
You
nothing on there
always
but
be
repost. I
sending.
repost
Oh,
and
I
like
don't.
other things, but I'm not. No, you're not gonna see me put that on there.
So if you started looking today, I mean, because one, you're saying your use of it is not as frequent, but if you also would not see yourself going and changing your profile pic to put that little open to work band around your image. Is that what you're saying?
You heard me the first time. No, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. No,
Yeah,
no.
like
Me
I
personally, I'm not doing it.
you said what?
Me personally, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, I want to hear from some folks. We got to find someone who does like job coaching, career coaching, HR kind of stuff to come on the show because no, I would not. But I also find myself both surprised and wondering when I see people who I know have jobs and they have that open to work around their image. Now, granted, maybe they forgot to take it off after they landed the job, but who's going to ask that question, like you said, before they start trying to either retaliate or stir the pot or get something going or whatever. So that's one. Two, no, I probably would not. But this is interesting. It depends. That's my answer. I think it does depend because, and maybe it's also the kind of work that you do, but I have certainly been advised by leaders, mentors, and some of my supervisors over the course of my career to notify, I guess you would call my boss. It's not a term I always use, but my boss. Well, you said if I'm looking, maybe not if I'm looking, but certainly if you land an interview and you're going to go to the interview, that
Oh yeah, I mean yeah.
telling your supervisors becomes expected in certain roles. Like you wouldn't, you know, I don't even know, certainly not at a dean and above level, you wouldn't go that far into that process without having a conversation with your supervisor, especially not at some of these institutions. If you work at a public place, that information becomes public very quickly. And the worst thing you want is for your supervisor to be surprised. Now, I'm saying this not because I came out of grad school knowing this, not because I didn't have earlier seasons of my career where I was very quiet about all those things, but certainly because by now I've learned, because I've made mistakes. I've not told, and then the supervisor found out and came to me and said, "Why didn't you tell me this?" And I was like, "Why would I tell you that I'm looking for another job or that I'm considering another job?" And they just helped me reframe it, right? And they also pointed out, like, you don't want the supervisor to find out because the coach was on that campus for a game and people said, "Oh, don't you work at so and so? Oh, so and so was just here because he's going to be considered for this job," right? Like that's just not the way that information should travel. I think that's the point I'm trying to make, and it's complicated. I'm sure people have to ultimately you will make the decision that's right for you because you know your situation, you know your campus, you know your supervisor, you know the people. Like you said, if you're working with people who are really, really, really I'll say it, messy, or who retaliate and who will try to hurt you, um, you know, you got to decide if you're going to take that risk or not. But to our colleague, um, I think the answer is generally speaking, it depends. But 202, since you said your boss that you're looking, no, I probably would not tell my boss, "Hey, how are you? Just wanted to let you know I'm searching." it's like, I'm not going to do that when you're just searching for jobs and you're applying for jobs. But when you get to the point that you actually have an interview, I think there's something else to talk about.
Even
All right.
the first interview, or like if it's like multiple stages, you'll tell them, or would you tell them before you already know the answer to that? Never mind.
So in my line of work, at my administrative hat, probably my faculty hat too, the general wisdom is once your feet, and this becomes very interesting for remote, but once your feet touch another campus, so once your feet will leave your current campus of employment and touch another campus for the purposes of an interview, then that's where you should definitely be having conversations with people about this. So that's usually where it's like a non-negotiable. By the time I'm going somewhere, then yes. If I am just applying and I'm having the initial phone interview with the first, maybe not, because you don't even know if you'll get through those phases. But by the time you get to the on campus, that's pretty advanced. And I think that's so I don't know how that then translates if you're applying to a remote job where you're never going to touch down. Maybe it's the moment you become named as kind of like a semi-finalist or finalist.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. Yeah, I agree with that.
You have similar wisdom you hear like that?
Yeah.
All right. So folks, listen, we are at the 1 hour plus mark. These numbers are going up. We appreciate y'all for tuning in. Thank you for doing that, for engaging. Listen, it's been a full week and you got a little bit more time left to the weekend. So use that time well, get some rest, and be ready for this coming week. We are going to be heading into July. So by the time we see you again, we will be well into the month of July. But hopefully something we talked about tonight, landed where you wanted it to land. It kept you engaged. It kept you learn something, which is what a lot of people talk about, learning from the podcast. So it's been great to be here. Always good to be with you, JaQuinn. And I'll give you the last word and then I'll get us out of here. Once you say that, I've got a quick video for you. So if those of you who tune in, I love the fact that these numbers never go down, that even toward the end, people are just still tuning in. So I got a video for you. And I was thinking about playing Brian Courtney Williams. You cool with that?
Cool with it.
All right. You got the last
final words is like, listen, a new week, a new opportunity to do something, to do good work. Find ways to do that. Don't let anyone disrupt your day, disrupt your week. Also try to plan time for yourself, whether that is going for a walk, going for a run, going out to dinner by yourself, or with some friends. Find that time for yourself because, again, it's very important for you to take time for you so you can do good for others. Good week. Have a good week and look forward to seeing you next weekend.
Peace. Love these numbers.
When I got to college, I wasn't sure what to think. First in my family to go. Only one in my neighborhood who even tried. Everyone kept calling it a big opportunity, but for me, it just felt unknown. I didn't know what I wanted to major in. I wasn't convinced college was the only path. I wasn't convinced it was my path. And honestly, I didn't know if people here would accept me or judge me. Would I make friends or enemies? Would I stand out or disappear? At first, I stuck to myself, went to class, came straight back to the room, ate alone, thought a lot. Then one night I asked myself a different kind of what if. Not the scary kind. Not the what if I fail, but the what if I don't? What if I make friends? What if I find something I care about? What if I surprise myself? So the next day I tried. Not a lot, just a little. I said hey to the person next to me in class. I joined a club I'd never heard of. I let myself imagine belonging. Turns out other people were trying too. Trying to make friends. Trying to fit. Trying to find their place. Just like me. Little by little, things changed. Class didn't feel like a chore. Grades got better. Community got bigger. I started doing work that meant something, just as focused, community-driven, people-centered work. Helping others helped me find myself. I used to ask, do I belong here? Now I ask, what can I build here? And that feels like growth. That feels like possibility. That feels like becoming. If you're finding your place in college, at work, in life, just remember, sometimes belonging starts with permission. Permission to imagine what if. Permission to try again tomorrow. Permission to bloom. For more insights and conversations like this, stay tuned to the show and follow along on #TLS Talks. Now, let's get back to the episode already in progress.
You just gotta keep your hands open. Just gotta keep your heart open. Teach me how to receive every blessing, every blessing. Teach me how to receive every blessing, every blessing. Give me the wisdom to understand how things work together for my good and your plan. Oh, for grace to believe that I will receive every blessing. Teach me how to receive every blessing. I want to receive it. Every blessing. Teach me, God, right now, right here. Every blessing. Every blessing. Give me the patience to abide in your will. Anxious for nothing, your living word will fulfill. Oh, for grace to believe that I will receive